Hello and welcome to Warframe. My name's Todd, also known as MagicMech, and this is, of course, Warframe. So, picking up from where we kind of left off last time, we had made our way across Jupiter, and we had gone to the Europa Junction, and we were working towards crafting a Warframe Spectre. I did say that this time around we would be heading towards I.O., but I think we're going to change our plans, as this week, conveniently, the Halloween event for Warframe has started, and I'd love to show off all the different things. Plus, we have a gift from the Lotus, which I think I would like to get, and it's going to expire really, really soon, so I'm going to go through this stuff real quick. Actually, you know what? We're going to jump straight into that so we don't lose it.
Operator, are you
We're going to do interception with our good old Rhino here, and we're going to jump straight back after we're done with this. This will probably be a little bit of a long episode just because I want to explain all the cool stuff you can get during Halloween. But I just really wanted to get this before we lost it for good. Because getting these catalysts, of course, is super important, as I've explained. They increase your mod capacity and are very good for many other reasons. So we're going to grab a tower. Hopefully our teammates will grab other towers. We'll be just fine on our own. So, jumping into this episode, of course, there are a couple things that I did want to explain and talk about. The main thing being is, in the past, we haven't really done any of the other planets' missions, such as things. Oh, we have a Nova in our group. All the enemies will explode when killed. We haven't really done any of the Star Chart missions aside from the ones that we've seen in the episodes, and it's kind of holding us back a little on certain things. So in the future, I'll probably do the missions that we haven't done on planets like Earth, Mars, and whatnot, in between episodes, just so we can make sure that we're getting progression. Most of the time, they're just repeats of what we've pretty much already seen. If it's anything special, such as bosses or the like, you know, rare things that we haven't seen before, I will definitely leave them for episodes. But otherwise, I think I'm going to start going back to old planets and completing those missions in between episodes, just so we don't have to worry about it later on when we're clearing out the Star Chart. That'll also give us a lot more resources and a lot more leveling up in between these episodes, so the series doesn't take forever. Alright, let's murder all these guys. This mission's, of course, going to be very easy for us. They're only level 6 after all. And we've got a nice team helping us out here. Stomp. I think all the enemies are pretty much dead at that point anyway, but do it anyway. That's an enemy I don't think we've ever seen before. I wonder who he grabbed there. So there was a commander enemy just over there a minute ago. Commanders are an interesting enemy that will actually teleport you or your allies to where they were while switching places with you effectively. Functions identical to your Warframe Loki's switch teleport. Very annoying though. Commanders are the high priority on my list because I just really don't like their ability to kill them whenever I see them. Alright, still all these guys. Shouldn't be too long now. Halfway through.
We are in total control. Keep fighting.
And in clearing all of those missions, of course, if you see any discrepancies between these episodes of, you know, levels or resources, it's probably because of that reason alone, as I've gone back and cleared some of the old missions to make sure that we've had them unlocked, completed. So some of the endgame content will be open to us pretty much as soon as we can get through all the quests and the rest of the Star Chart's junctions, things of that nature. Less busy working in the episodes, more busy work outside of the episodes, that is. I'm excited to talk about all the Halloween stuff. I guess I can talk a little bit about the fact that they just announced in the dev stream for Warframe that Fortuna, the update that everybody was exceptionally excited about with a new open world area for Warframe, will be hopefully releasing sometime in November, from what they stated. The first week of November is when they had it planned, but hard to say truthfully if that'll exactly happen. Of course, the Warframe developers are very hardworking, but some things don't always work out as expected. As with the Chimera update, there was massive bugs with the operators' cosmetics.
Message
I believe I
decoded.
talked about cosmetic
Leave none
bugs
alive.
previously.
Clear out the remaining enemy forces.
They did finally get that fixed. Glad to know. So they are on top of that sort of thing, but sometimes it takes them a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are any delays of that nature when we're talking about Fortuna and things of large capacity. Fortuna and probably the melee update. Probably going to have a couple kinks to work out over time. Alright, so we've completed the first round, just gotta get the second one done.
They are broadcasting another message. Make sure the enemy never
I can
receives
also
it.
talk about Chimera. One subtle update that I didn't really pay too much attention to in the previous episode that did happen is the weapon elemental effects have changed. So I didn't really talk about it because I wasn't positive if it was a thing. So slam attacks look different now, of course. And the elemental effects on said weapons look different. You can see that there's kind of like electricity crackling from a weapon.
Now.
Previously, corrosive would be just like a pure green electricity, regardless of your energy color. Now it kind of matches your energy color, and it has kind of like a wet, like dripping look to it as well. Kind of like a corrosive oil's slapped on it with electricity flowing through it. Not super exciting, but there are definitely some cool ones. Viral looks much different. I'm not sure what explosive looks like now that I think about it. But yeah, all the effects of the elemental weapons have changed. And as like a byproduct of that, they now fit your energy color, which is much nicer for, as people would say, fashion frame. You make your weapons look a lot better now. I believe there was also a subtle change to prime weapons, how they glow constantly now. But I'm not positive on that. People are still speculating. I have a couple prime weapons, melee weapons that is, on my main account that I've noted do glow now in a way that they didn't before, so that's kind of cool. Just little cosmetic things.
Of all 4 towers.
I'm sure Chimera's main function was probably a precursor to Fortuna, but that's just speculation on my part. The one thing I can make a comment about is there was a weapon released with Chimera. There's a quest, of course, in Chimera that we haven't been able to do because it's the latest quest you can do. And a weapon was released with it. That weapon has a similar attack pattern to the Graham Prime, in that its slam attack is slightly different than other weapon slam attacks. Now, different isn't necessarily always bad in Warframe, but in this case I don't think it's really the best change they've made. The slam attacks tend to push enemies out of the way of your attacks, which can be problematic.
The enemy have taken a tower.
Slam attacks for melee weapons typically knock things over, but the slam attacks for the Graham Prime and the weapon in the quest release with the Chimera update, which I will talk about when we get it really, both of them don't really have the same sort of setup. Their knockback or slam attacks tend to knock things into the air away from your melee attacks, which is quite annoying actually. If there's one thing that I would definitely prefer to see in the future is that maybe that gets toned down or changed slightly.
The enemy have taken a tower. You must recapture it.
I don't really prefer that, but they're all talking a lot about, the developers that is, are all talking a lot about how they're going to change a lot of things with the Melee 3.0, so perhaps that won't be so bad at that point. Whoa, a lot of enemies over here. Let's stop real quick. Prevent these guys from messing with our control panels. Okay, I think we are good. I think we lost a couple towers on their end, and that probably caused them to, all the enemies to flood over here.
We are dominating.
We're not going to let them get our tower, though. Not ours. We've got these guys on lock. Our bolter's doing work here, and our bolter's finally on rank 30, which is good. finally maybe upgrade it. Maybe. We'll see. Upgrading these first few weapons that you can kind of get because they have prime variants isn't necessarily the best
We do
idea,
not allow the enemy to learn of our espionage.
but
Eliminate
if you have
the
to do it to
remaining
progress,
enemy
don't be
personnel.
afraid to do that. Because regardless of weapons, primed or not, it's still, if you enjoy using it, it's probably a good weapon. I've stated it before, I'll state it again though. If you like using a weapon, upgrade it, enjoy
Good
it,
work today.
use it.
Not only have we decoded the enemy transmissions, we
Alright,
have also disrupted their communications.
so we've completed that. We've got our Auric and Catalyst blueprint, which is fantastic for us. Also got a bunch of credits, just a bunch of credits. And let's see, anything else important? No new mods, some polymers, some ferrites, that'll do. Alright, so now that let's leave the squad real quick. Now that we are finished with that, I can not be worried about jumping into our Halloween missions, but we'll definitely do those here in a minute. I want to talk about all the cool stuff you can get with the Halloween event. So, if you go on over to your marketplace, you will see that the Day of the Dead packs have been released. These are things that you can only get during Halloween. They're all really cool. Let's just search Day of... okay. So these are all the Day of the Dead skins. Not only can you buy the packs, of course, but you can buy the individual skins, depending on what weapons you kind of like, what Sandanas you kind of like. I've bought a couple of these. Not too many, on my main account that is, but they're definitely very cool to look at. I love the kind of skull motif and the wonderful, I don't want to say Hispanic, but I'm going to probably say Hispanic-like designs. They're very similar to that anyway. I really like that. It's really cool. Aside from that, you can also pick up, if you go over to your categories and to your equipment and color palettes, you can pick up a limited time color palette, which they're pretty much every major holiday such as Christmas, Valentine's Day. I don't know if they do one for Thanksgiving, but a lot of the major holidays they will have color palettes which you can buy for only a single credit. So make sure you stick around at the very least to pick up your color palette on the holidays. Definitely a worthwhile thing to do. And now we've got a nice color palette. Let's see. You can also pick up a new hat for Halloween, which we'll throw on our Warframe here. It will only be usable during the Halloween event, but if you go into your Warframe attachments, go to Auxiliary, for a limited time only, you can purchase the Dullahan mask, which is a pumpkin head. We're going to buy it, it's only a credit. It will only last, unlike the color palette that is, unlike the Halloween color palette, the Dullahan mask will only last for as long as Halloween's going on. Let's use our Halloween color palette though. Let's make Rhino more vibrant. Do I want to make him like horribly red? I don't think so. Let's make him just kind of shiny. And we'll upgrade his yellow as well to kind of shiny. Is there a blue? No, there's only greens. Not a big fan of green, really. Alright, that'll do for the moment. We've kind of updated our colors. He's much more vibrant now. Perhaps later on we'll get a color palette with maybe some blacks. Who knows? I'd really like it if we had a black color palette, but I don't think we're going to get our hands on one of those soon. Actually, you know what? A little bit too vibrant. Let's tone it down a little bit. Just a bit. Just a tiny bit. There we go. Alright. So, now that we've got our pumpkin head on, we're all ready to take on the Halloween event. So, the Halloween event for this year, we're going to switch over to solo real quick, has two stages. The first stage will award the Day of the Dead sigil. The second stage will award the Dread Day of the Dead skin. And both of these can, of course, be found on Earth. So you must do the first one to get the sigil first before you can do the second. They get progressively harder, so the first one's easier, second one's harder. I will show you how that goes here in a second. I just want to make sure that we don't have anything else to do. Oh, before we jump into that, let's build our Spectre, because I did say we were going to do that, didn't I? So effectively the way Spectres work in Warframe is when you get ready to build one, your Spectre loadout is decided by what Warframe you have currently. So currently we have Rhino, the Boltor, the Lado, and the Heat Sword. Now I'm not super worried about what the Spectre is. The Spectre can be replaced later on. So if you craft a Spectre in the future, you can replace the loadout with the loadout that you would have in the future. For now, we're just going to craft one with our basic Rhino, basic default stuff, and go at it. So now that that loadout is saved in our basic Vapor Spectres. It's not saved for any of the other Spectres, just a Vapor Spectre. But if we went to craft more, we can keep that loadout if we wanted to, without having to change our Warframe and anything, just by selecting it. Or we can replace it with anything we get in the future. For now, we just wanted to craft that Spectre, or begin that process, before we jump straight into our first Day of the Dead mission. So going through this, I'm going to do these first two, and then I will show and explain the third one. There is a third one that isn't shown here, but we'll get to that in a moment. So starting these out, I'm going in solo, because I think I can do it. I'm going to very quickly explain how this works. Being a nightmare of sorts, we go into the mission. It seems very dark, very spooky, because it's the spooky time of year. Everything's very dark, and as such,
Sensors show this outpost is crawling with infested. Exterminate the threat.
as the Lotus stated in her wonderful vampire costume, it's crawling with infested. Now, to boot in this Hallowed mission, it's dark, very dark, it's very foggy. I have done nothing to change these settings. This is how it looks. So if it's hard to see, you'll have to forgive me, but that's just how the mission is supposed to look. You might also note that our health is only 100 and our shields are only 100. This is the same for every Warframe that you would pick and take in this mission.
Picking up signs of the infested.
So regardless of what you chose, doesn't really matter. You're going to have 100 health and 100 shields, no matter what. You've also noticed that we don't have our companion. Taxon is gone, and we also don't have any weapons. We are weaponless currently. You can still attack with melee, but it's not super effective. I would bother with not really trying to focus on attack. Focus on defense. You can still block with whatever you use as your block key. For this first part of the mission, we are trying to find a door, but we're also trying to find power cells for said door. So to get the power cells, you come over to a panel. You find these panels on what I like to call the left side of the map going towards the waypoint. They were always in the same spot. I will show that off when we do the second mission here. Let's try and deal with this guy here. Let's punch him in the face. Punch these guys in the face. We just want to grab our power cell and go, though, because they'll very quickly overwhelm you. The next power cell is going to be over here on the left as well. Right over there. I think they always spawn in the same spots. I've never found them in a different spot. But you come over to the door, you insert the power cell in. There are two spots for power cells. We need to go back and grab the second. Oh, we got grabbed by an ancient. Let's run out of that. Focus, of course, on defense because you don't really do a lot of damage to these guys. We're also gonna, ouch, have to run away for a second and see if we can't lure them towards a barrel. So the major way you can defend yourself in this mission without getting killed is by finding one of these tall pumpkin sets. These are explosive barrels. They explode and create fire, which does damage enemies pretty severely. Note the enemies can also break themselves. They create this fire ring, very similar to Ember's abilities. So now we've done that. We've kind of burned a couple of them and gotten them out of our way mostly. We're going to punch this one, so we don't need him in our way. Punching us away. We're going to activate this. I'm going to try and hack it as fast as possible. Nope. We're dying here. There we go. Now we're going to dodge roll away. Okay. We're going to run back in, grab our power cell, jump out of the way. Hopefully not die. That's effectively how this Halloween mission goes. It's kind of spooky just because you don't have any weapons. You don't have a sentinel or a kubra or a kavat to help you out. You can, of course, go into this with a party, which we'll do in the second mission. The thing that makes this difficult, of course, is you don't have anything. You're all on your own. These missions are greatly helped by your knowledge of the maps on Earth. So if you've never done the maps on Earth, it's definitely worthwhile to learn how they're set up. The second part of this mission is somewhat self-explanatory. You'll come to this giant pumpkin, it will be released, and it's the Jackonaut. This is a boss very similar to an enemy that you'll run into later in the game, called the Juggernaut. They're very tough, infested enemies. This one in particular, he has some very devastating effects, which you're going to want to avoid. He'll also charge towards you. And we died from that. Let's revive. So he'll charge towards you, and you want him to hit these explosive barrels, of course. Noting that when he hits them, you can break them, create the fire ring, which will damage him. Or he'll sometimes break them himself. Or herself, however you want to look at it. Effectively, you want him to get near these explosive barrels so they can get popped and damage him. Effectively, as long as he's on fire, you're doing okay. We're going to punch him some more. Go through. We're going to jump on top of this one. Hopefully the enemies don't break it, but they might. Oop. Okay. The one thing you do want to avoid is getting on a different plane, like a level, than him, because he'll charge directly at you head first. You'll also want to stay away from him because of that large shockwave attack. But getting behind one of those barrels, very effective. He's on fire now. We really don't do any damage to him, punching-wise, so don't even really bother. It's kind of a waste. Big thing is getting him to hit those barrels, exploding them on top of them. Does the most amount of damage. Oh, those gas clouds do a lot of damage. You want to avoid those at pretty much any cost. Pop that one, and we've burned them to death.
The outpost is clean. Proceed to extraction.
So that is effectively how you do the Halloween event. It's kind of spooky because you just don't have any health really, and you don't have any of your weapons and armor. And you might be wondering, how can they make this harder? Well, I'll show you here in the second mission that we're going to do. It's definitely a step up. I think after we do the second mission with a group of people, we'll skip over doing the third. I'll explain it, and then we'll kind of close out the episode just because that'll be really all we need to do this time around.
Operator, messages have arrived in your inbox.
But we've gotten our sigil, so that's pretty cool. Sigils, of course, are things that you can adorn onto your Warframe. Going into appearance, you can go into regalia. If we wanted the Day of the Dead sigil, you can put it on our front. It looks like that, pretty much. You can, of course, change the look of it by changing the energy color, changing the alpha. You can rotate it. You can do whatever you want here. Get real customizable with it. We're not going to worry about any of that. Don't really need to at the moment. Us and our pumpkin head. So we've done the first part. To do the second part, of course, it's a step up in difficulty. And the step up comes in the fact that not only do you have all the previous effectively downsides to this mission. Oh, I forgot. I was going to do this with a group. Let's back out real quick. Little abort. It's okay to abort. We'll back out. We'll come back into the mission here in just a second. We're going to switch over to public. It is much easier to do this with a group, of course, because if you get downed, you don't have to immediately worry about dying. You can, of course, be revived. So if you're having problems, joining a group is a good choice. In the second leg, we're going to need that extra kind of assistance because of the added difficulty. So I'm not sure where we'll join. We might join in the Jack-of-Not fights. We might join in the section where we're finding the power souls, but effectively that's kind of how it works. Alright, so for this first section, I think we're still in the first section. Our job would be to find the power cells. So they always spawn here on the left side of the map, so you can follow this left wall, and you'll find them. So I don't know if they've found both of them. He's found one. There's the second. So our teammates have gotten them. You can see that the raise in difficulty comes from the fact that now we only have 100 health in total. Before we had 200. We only have 50 shields and 50 HP. It is much more difficult. Plus the enemies are higher level, that means they will do more damage. Overall, very problematic. Oh boy. Yeah, it's very easy to get knocked down. If you can avoid getting hit, that's definitely the best thing to do in this situation. Oh boy. Let's see if we can get out of here for a second. Oh, so he just revived. Doors open. We're just going to run into the Jackonaut. Being that the enemies hit a little bit harder now, and that we have less life, the Jackonaut fight, of course, becomes more difficult. We no longer have any room for error. Getting hit by even just a small amount of the gas damage, or that hit there, can pretty much kill you if you're not ready. Probably the only type of Warframe that really might give you a benefit is one with high armor, but I highly doubt that they would overlook something of that nature. Seems we're all kind of going down here. I'm just going to resurrect here so we can get some people out and about, trying to lure him into these pumpkins. The faster we lure him into the pumpkins, the better, of course. He's going to drop us. We're also going to jump that onto him. Oh, he charged right as we broke the pumpkin there. That was kind of unfortunate, but sometimes that happens. So as you can understand, this fight is mainly waiting for the enemy AI to attack you, or the Jackonaut to attack you. It can be somewhat problematic if he doesn't attack you fast enough, or if he attacks you too fast and you're nowhere near a explosive barrel. Meaning that the third stage of this mission is quite difficult, and I'll explain why once we get to that point. First, we're just going to try to kind of deal with him right now. So I'm not positive about this as well, but I believe there is a component of this fight that you do want him to try and hit the explosive barrels rather than punching them yourself. I think it does a little bit more damage, though I'm not positive on that. You definitely want him to be in explosive barrel areas as often as possible. I think the orange smoke is signifying that they're going to be neat, like a pumpkin is going to spawn there soon, but I'm not positive on that. Alright, so whoa. We were nowhere near an explosive barrel. Thankfully he wasn't going for us. Somebody is popping these explosive barrels too soon. Make sure that when you're fighting this guy you don't do whatever that person is doing. You do want to get those explosive barrels, but you want to do them when the Jackonaut is near you, not when he's somewhere far away. Oh boy. And we're in the gas cloud now, which is going to probably knock that guy down. He doesn't pick somebody up. Oh, he got me up. That's kind of convenient. Let's move over here. Okay. So we're going to want to move over towards the boss. And we can punch this. Oh, we could have punched that barrel if he had waited a moment. Alright. Oh man. This guy keeps popping the explosive barrels before they're useful. Real unfortunate. It's going to take forever at this rate. There we go. Oh. Did slightly get him, I think, there? Yes, we did get him. Just ever so slightly, though. As you can imagine with this fight, it's really just a countdown of how many revives you've got. Having a team, of course, is extremely important. Or if you think you're able to do it yourself, that's also good. Now, third stage, I'm not sure if a team is more helpful or less helpful, but we'll come to that in just a moment. You definitely want to note that you only get 5 revives in a mission. If the Jackonaut uses all of them, that's extremely unfortunate.
Proceed to extraction.
You lose the mission then, and you don't get any rewards, so it is kind of nice to have people with you to pick you back up. Come on. There we go. Let's run up top, run through, and we're done with this. So that is the second stage here. The third stage I will do off camera again because of the difficulty. It would literally,
Mission
it's probably going to
complete.
take me about 3 or
Excellent
4
work,
tries, if not more, based on luck alone, really, to get it done. But we did get it, this leg of the mission complete. Okay, so now moving on to the next part. So the next step, of course, takes the difficulty up a notch from what it was previously. So if those two were already very difficult for you,
box messages make me
this
ill.
next part, of course, is going to be even harder. But we did get our Dread of the Day skin, so this is a weapon skin for the Dread. If you have the Dread bow, you can apply this to it, and it looks pretty cool, I think. But I don't currently have a Dread bow on here yet, anyway. So we're going to have to wait to be able to show that off until we can manage to get our Dread bow. But it's nice to have. Oh, I did not mention previously, but the Void Trader did arrive on the Orcus Relay, so if you've unlocked Pluto, you can go see him for this weekend only. So the final leg of the mission is effectively identical to the second leg of the mission, but it is now a time attack. Yeah, you guessed that right. It's a time attack. So I'm not going to show that off because it's going to take me quite a few attempts to get it down. I won't use the reward, which is an Aurican Reactor, which will apply to a Warframe in the next episode. But you have to complete the Hallowed Nightmares time attack in, I think it's like a minute or two. It's really a small amount of time to complete this. It's very hard to do because you die a lot, and you have to really rely on the Jackanauts being kind of kind to you and hitting the barrels effectively and dying quickly. It also is noted that it might actually be better to do it solo, just because the time attack does apply to all of your teammates. So if
I run diagnostic regressions.
you, for
All
instance,
systems
complete
are
every
on.
objective
You
within
don't
the
need
time
to
limit, but all of your team doesn't reach the end in just a couple seconds, guess what? You fail. So that's kind of sucky. But, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. It's difficult. It's rewarding, though. Next time we'll come back and we'll have that reward, though. I'll complete that. I'll also go through Mercury and Venus to complete all of their extra little nodes that we haven't done. We have completed all of their bosses. I won't do Earth because their Earth does have a boss. I will probably do up to the boss, which is on Tikal. Actually, yeah, I'm not worried about not showing off this Arcwing mission. This Arcwing mission is effectively just as simple as it can be. It's a exterminate mission. Oh, the regular mission is a mobile defense. Well, the alert is exterminate, but the regular mission is mobile defense. It's pretty much what you expect. We'll probably run on those later. It's the same pretty much as it would be in a normal mission, but using the Arcwing controls, there's nothing really special about it. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to worry mostly about the Mercury and Venus, complete those planets, get all the nodes unlocked for next time. I will also complete the Hallowed Nightmares time attack for next time. And next time we'll unlock the Europa Junction because we'll have completed our Warframe Spectre. I don't think there's anything else I needed to cover. So I guess until next time. Goodbye.